Faith Forward Media, this is Healthcare Musings. I'm Dr. Hassaballa. Hey everybody, welcome to Healthcare Musings. Happy to have you with me. I will say to anyone starting a clinical rotation in med school that your first impression is your only impression. And that has been true throughout my entire career. That people, right or wrong, judge you based on their first impression. And if your first impression comes off that you're strong and a hard worker and you're diligent and you do what you're supposed to, that will go a long way and give you a lot of leeway even if you slip up later. And if your first impression is you are not a hard worker, you're lazy, you don't show up, you don't do those things, you are going to be buried under that impression for a very long time. And so often in life and in medicine, perception is reality. Even if reality is different, it doesn't matter. Perception is what is reality. Right or wrong, it's the way of the world. And so the reason I talk about this is because I saw this study published in BMJ Open. It was published in August. That said, that's titled "Patient Perception of Physician Attire: A Systematic Review Update." So there's been extensive literature on how does the appearance of a physician affect the patient-physician relationship. Like, does the way a physician dress affect how the patient perceives the physician, trusts the physician, and will work with the physician. So it was a very interesting study, and it piqued my interest. And I just wanted to quote the beginning because it reiterates what I said. Quote, "The physician's first impression can significantly influence the development of a reliable physician-patient relationship. According to Dang et al., the study, patients usually develop trust in physicians based on the first impression." And then moving later on, quote, "Physician's attire is especially important as a communication tool that can enhance first impressions." Unquote. And then later in the article it says, quote, "With the growing emphasis on hygiene and scientific advancements in medicine, white coats represented cleanliness and professionalism. Therefore, white medical coats became the standard attire for physicians worldwide in the 20th century." Unquote. So that's kind of interesting that they show the history of where the white coat came from. Like, why do we wear white lab coats? We're not really necessarily lab technicians, but that's where that came from. It's interesting. I have several pairs of black scrubs because a lot of physicians now wear scrubs, myself included. Very early on in my career, I would wear casual attire underneath my white coat, and then the pandemic hit, and now I'm wearing scrubs all the time. Even before the pandemic, I would wear scrubs. It's just more comfortable, right? And if something happens, you get blood, you get urine, you get stool, it's not on your clothes, it's on your scrubs that you can just take off, switch, and launder. And it's interesting, I have a bunch of black scrubs, and they say, quote, "Numerous patients expressed the black scrubs as the least trustworthy." I thought that was very interesting. So just to go over the article is a systematic review of 32 studies that were published between 2016 and 2023. The majority of them were in the United States, and the others occurred in a number of other countries, including Japan, China, Pakistan, Indonesia, India, Ethiopia, Korea, Germany, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, and Switzerland. And they said among the 32 included studies, more than 80% were rated as having a low risk of bias. 60 to 79% had a moderate risk of bias, and then 4% had a high risk of bias, according to this checklist. And so most of the patients were over 18 years of age, and the medical specialties varied. So there's anesthesia, dermatology, dentistry, family medicine, gastroenterology, general, that was not specified, general surgery, internal medicine, multi-specialty, neurosurgery, obstetrics and gynecology, oncology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, and radiology. Interestingly, there was no critical care. Maybe that's under multi-specialty. I'm not really sure. Now, the findings were all over the place, right? When I read the paper and all the results, the findings were all over the place, and you can't really do a meta-analysis of this kind of data. At the same time, these were kind of after synthesizing, these were kind of the major highlights of the study. Number one, and I'm going to quote here, quote, "First, in terms of clinical environment, our findings reaffirm that patients in outpatient and primary care settings tend to prefer formal attire and white coats. However, our review includes additional evidence from high acuity settings such as emergency departments and inpatient wards, where scrubs and practical attire are often favored," unquote. So that's great. So when I'm in the intensive care unit is another very high acuity setting, wearing scrubs with a white coat on top, which is what I tried to do, is favored. And again, it displays professionalism. Interestingly, they found gender differences. This was, I thought, very interesting. Quote, "Female physicians in white coats are sometimes misidentified as nurses, while male physicians in suits are often perceived as more authoritative," unquote. That's so interesting, and I'm planning to have a podcast episode about women in medicine, and I'm gonna talk about this. It's just so interesting. Here's another major finding. Quote, "Our review incorporates studies conducted during and after the COVID-19 pandemic, capturing a significant shift towards preferences for scrubs, face masks, and infection-conscious attire." So, unquote. So, I think the pandemic shifted a lot of people's attitudes about physicians wearing scrubs, which is great because scrubs are just more comfortable, and they allow me to work much more comfortably. And so some of the larger implications of their study, quote, "Medical institutions should consider adopting flexible dress codes that align with patient preferences for different clinical environments and medical specialties. For example, white scrubs may be preferable in emergency or surgical settings, while scrubs may be preferable in emergency or surgical settings, formal attire with a white coat could be more appropriate in primary care or outpatient clinics," unquote. And then again, quote, "Considering the COVID-19 pandemic, the continued use of scrubs and PPE may foster a sense of safety and hygiene, addressing patient concerns about infection risks," unquote. And in their conclusion, they say, quote, "While the traditional white coat is seen as a symbol of professionalism and trust, patients have increasingly accepted scrubs, especially in emergency or high-risk settings. Additionally, gender-related perceptions showed variations in attire expectations for male and female physicians, with male physicians often associated with formal attire and female physicians with white coats," unquote. White coats, unquote. So it's just interesting that depending on this, and this makes sense, right? Depending on the setting, your attire can have a major impact on how patients perceive you and whether they trust you or not. It's just trust you or not. I'm very happy that in acute settings like the ICU, wearing scrubs, especially with a white coat, is favored and engenders trust. I always try to do that. And then now a lot of places have badges where they say physician on it, because a lot of us wear scrubs and we look just like everyone else. And I mean, it's not like it's bad that I look like a respiratory therapist or a nurse or a tech or something. And again, if I'm the doctor taking care of you, the patient should know. And I guess wearing the white coat with the scrubs and maybe the badge that says physician just helps identify myself as the physician member of the healthcare team. Not that I'm better than anyone else as a physician. But it's just interesting. And like I said, man, your first impression is your only impression. So we should be careful to make sure our first impression is good, because that can have a major impact on how patients relate to us moving forward. Thanks so much, guys, for your time and attention. And until next time, Hassaballa signing off on Healthcare Musings. Thank you for listening. Sign up at healthcaremusings.com to get every episode delivered directly to your email. And please don't forget to leave a 5-star review. Thank you so much.